is following the dunya excessively, preoccupied with work, etc., can be considered as following Taghut. See, At-Taghut is any transgression, but mainly in what opposes the commands of Allah. And it also, it mainly refers to a shirk, associating partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when people follow something in the disobedience of Allah, or being obedient to something that is opposite or against the commands of Allah. And anything that is followed in an excessive way, that makes the person disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, undermine the other rights that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala obligated upon us, this is all tughyan, this is all transgression. And this is following the transgression that they are forbidden from doing, whether it's in the sinful category or if it's in shirk, then in the shirk category. So therefore, we should make sure that we're not excessive in things. And that's why it's not about just, say, for example, if it's work, if it's worldly matters, being preoccupied with worldly matters. If this is sinful, even if it's the smallest amount of it, then it's haram. And it might be permissible. If it's permissible, then it should not be done in a way of excessiveness that makes a person undermine other rights in his life. There's the rights of Allah to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the rights of others in our life, and so on. And the other thing is, as mentioned in the question, preoccupied. There's one thing of being physically doing things and being preoccupied of it with our hearts. The hearts needs to be occupied with the objectives of this life, which is the worship of Allah, seeking rewards from Allah, the fear of Allah, and so on. Physically, right, if it's a worldly matters, we put it in the right perspective. This is only a mean to establish what are we created for, and that is to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's only a mean to establish the deen of Allah in its comprehensive understanding of what the deen is. And that's why it requires knowledge, it requires to ask the people of knowledge, because there's not only one form of understanding or knowing the religion that everybody should be doing the same. So people can be doing different things as long as they're fulfilling the obligations and staying away from haram. And then there are levels in how they are with their acts of obedience to Allah, turning away from sins and so on, and what their occupations are, as long as, again, they put it in the right perspective and it doesn't take them away from the deen, and their hearts are occupied with the worship of Allah, and to use that for the sake of Allah to make the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala superior. Wallahu a'lam. But it's not in the sense of the taghut that is mentioned in the verses, because that refers to matters of belief, the core belief when it comes to shirk, or obeying something in the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and these matters. Wallahu a'lam.